Today, we're diving into the chaotic yet heartwarming world of Giuseppe's, a family-owned Italian joint which made Chef Ramsay go all bonkers. So far in the history of kitchen nightmares, Giuseppe's has received the most love out of all. But why? Let's find out.
Expectations that we would put Sam on his feet.
So, Giuseppe's Trattoria is a small Italian restaurant in Macomb Township in Detroit, Michigan. The restaurant is owned by a couple, Joe and Kathy, and their son Sam. Turns out they desperately needed Chef Ramsay to rescue them from the downfall they had been facing ever since they opened the restaurant.
Family to be healthy and happy. Everything else doesn't matter.
And oh boy, Chef Ramsay was in for an absolute roller coaster ride. Not only was the family knee-deep in debt, but they also had issues to resolve amongst themselves.
You want to go get your son? Because every time I try to explain, he's got to walk.
With a father not ready to let go of the reins of the restaurant, and a son struggling to fight for his place in the kitchen, Giuseppe's downfall was due to its deep-rooted family issues.
I'm just supposed to basically be a shadow.
The episode kicked off on a rather emotional note, with Kathy picking up Chef Ramsay on the way to the restaurant whilst telling Chef Ramsay all about their money problems. And boy, did this family have a lot of debt to pay off.
I owe about $150,000 outside of that.
With a huge debt looming over their head, this family was desperate for Chef Ramsay's guidance. After getting a fair idea of what the idea behind running Giuseppe's was, Chef Ramsay got right into it. Right from the menu to the decor, nothing was close to being Italian.
The old world, family recipes and cozy atmosphere.
Now is where the exciting part begins. Chef Ramsay placed an order off the menu. He got an octopus salad and some potato skins. Potato skins? On an Italian menu? Yeah, right. Hell, even Chef Ramsay agrees with me.
Do I want to come to an authentic Italian restaurant with potato skins?
And it doesn't end here. The server brought Chef Ramsay's octopus salad, which was absolutely abysmal.
Got the octopus like rubber.
It was so bad that Chef Ramsay had to throw it out of his mouth because it apparently tasted like Hubba Bubba.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I'm not at all surprised with the state of the octopus salad served, because right when the server took Chef Ramsay's order to the kitchen, this is what Sam had to say.
When I saw Chef Ramsay ordered octopus salad,
And if that rubbery dish wasn't enough to disgust Chef Ramsay, out came the potato skins. And well, the verdict was in, and let me tell you, Chef Ramsay was not impressed.
And how are the potato skins?
The cheese is,
Next up, we had Giuseppe's special eggplant rollatini. Let's hope Chef Ramsay liked that. However, with the track record so far, I highly doubt this special is gonna do any justice. Let's find out. And as we all expected, the eggplant rollatini was a no-go. Here's what Chef Ramsay had to say about the dish.
identify any flavors because it's just absolutely piping hot.
While Chef Ramsay was second-guessing his decision to come to Giuseppe's, there was a different feud going on back in the kitchen. Joe and Sam were refusing to see eye to eye, and Joe even made a bold claim that he could have done the job better.
He can cook every dish that he had.
Well, the father and son forgot they were at the restaurant hosting a world-renowned chef and started arguing like they were in their drawing room. And boy, did Chef Ramsay hear it all.
Sounds like there's a war going on, it's incredible.
Joe sure was losing his mind with this whole situation, and not to mention this man was diabetic. But dude, he couldn't cool down one bit.
There's many fucking complaints.
Things were definitely boiling up from before, but with Chef Ramsay's arrival, Joe started taking things a little to heart. He even decided to give the staff a pep talk in order to work better. And hey, I gotta say, I'm kinda with Joe on this one.
Being the mother, the husband, the son.
The slacking was of course not gonna get this restaurant anywhere, but I suppose Sam's complaints were there for a reason. Apparently, Joe had been doing a shoddy job at being a boss and a dad. All poor Sam was looking for ways to make his dad proud and happy.
give him a hug and say, look, it's gonna be alright.
So after this family regroup session that went horribly, it was now time to face the music. Chef Ramsay was waiting to give Joe, Sam, and sous chef Brian a piece of his mind.
I like the passion, but the palate's fucked.
Oh boy, were these three in for a ride. Chef Ramsay ripped them a new one for each dish they served him. And deservingly so. I mean, so much for claiming to be an authentic Italian restaurant and serving dishes warmed up in the microwave. I mean, come on, get a life. After all the commotion went down, Chef Ramsay was convinced he had his work cut out for himself, and this was not going to be an easy challenge. Next up, we have that part of the episode which highlights the real deal, the crux of the issues of failure, and this dinner service was going to showcase all of it at length. Even after such struggles, the restaurant was surprisingly full of diners on dinner service night. Must be the news of Chef Ramsay being in town. Well, Chef Ramsay was on guard with a hawk's eye view of everything that was going down that night. All customers were given a warm welcome and greeted with a lot of love, and the orders started pouring in as well. But just as soon as the orders poured in, the kitchen team started dishing it out to the diners at the earliest possible.
Thank you.
Sometimes salads or soup.
You must be thinking it all makes sense. The staff was on track, the flow of the night had been set. But here is the twist. The reason behind orders coming out of the kitchen as soon as the orders were received was solely because the kitchen team was putting all the food in the microwave and sending it out.
Order roast potato.
How can there be roast potatoes in the microwave?
But don't you worry, just as fast as the food flew out of the kitchen, the food came flying back in just as fast.
Hey Brian, can you please warm this for me?
Imagine serving microwaved Italian food all under Chef Ramsay's nose. I mean, Joe had some guts doing that. Fortunately, this was the first night and Chef Ramsay was only here to witness. Well, it was all of course piling up for the worst to come. Right from dishes being undercooked or cold, or just not as to the diner's choice. Quite literally, every single dish that was sent out of the kitchen was sent right back. Like, hello? A little wake-up call here, Giuseppe's? So much for Joe yelling at everyone for not doing their job properly. But at the same time, he was the one encouraging Brian to put all the dishes in the microwave. Huh, talk about irony.
I put it in the microwave.
At least Sam knew what was right and wrong, and Brian called it an Italian fast food joint. Come on now, Brian, have some faith in your microwaved food.
I always call it fast food Italian.
Fast food Italian, yeah.
I gotta give it to Joe for belittling Sam and micromanaging every single step of his. I mean, I could never keep my cool with someone like Joe breathing down my neck at all times of the day.
Why don't we ever add cows in this line?
This is how
As we all know, the heart of this episode lies in the tumultuous relationship between Joe and Sam. The father-son duo was constantly at odds, with Joe dismissing Sam's modern ideas and Sam feeling undervalued and frustrated.
You don't want to listen to me.
Yeah, I do exactly how you say it.
It's a classic case of old school versus new school, and Chef Ramsay steps in as the mediator. Anyway, moving on, Chef Ramsay sat down with Joe and Sam separately to get to the root of their issues. Joe, in his thick Italian accent, talks about his pride and how hard he'd worked to build the restaurant.
I built this restaurant. I've been putting them.
Sam, on the other hand, opened up about his desire to innovate and bring fresh ideas to Giuseppe's, and also how he wished to receive good mentorship and appreciation from his father.
Why don't you tell Dad that you want to cook fresh?
It's clear that both men care deeply about the restaurant and each other, but their egos and pride were getting in the way.
You want to make them proud of you.
After the dinner service, Chef Ramsay had to sit down with the family and staff to draw them a clearer picture of how deep in the waters they were.
We've got ourselves in a real horrible rut.
It started with Chef Ramsay finally giving Sam a chance to voice his opinion for the first time in front of his father, and let's have a look at what Sam had to say when Chef Ramsay asked how he felt about serving frozen food.
I hate it.
And boy, you can see the look on Joe's face completely change. Once Sam was done confronting Joe, Chef Ramsay moved on to asking Joe whether he thought Sam was a good chef, and let me tell you, you are not prepared for what's to come.
He likes to cook.
Whoa! Now that is a subtle slap in the face. That too coming from your own father. I mean, you gotta feel a little sad for Sam. Tough luck in the dad department, Sam. Well, you'd think this discussion would mellow down. Turns out Joe had just started his rant parade. Chef Ramsay sure did play a good mediator. He further asked Joe what he thought Sam's weaknesses were, and oh lord, did all hell break loose.
You put 25 hours a week.
Oh man. A whole lot of shenanigans went down in this discussion, but at least both sides were able to pour their hearts out, even if things got bitter.
My father doesn't really talk to me that much, and
Now that all was out of the way, Chef Ramsay persuaded the team to pull up their socks and reignite the passion they have for cooking.
We've got our cards out on the table. Now I want to see the passion.
Chef Ramsay knows that actions speak louder than words, so he orchestrates a cook-off between Joe and Sam. This is where things get really spicy. The challenge was simple. Each of them had to cook their signature dish, and the staff at Giuseppe's would decide whose dish was better.
Both of you, cook something unique.
An array of fresh ingredients were laid out in the kitchen. Both father and son were excited to go against each other, but Sam sure did have more to prove here.
Pasta, fresh lasagna, fresh salmon, asparagus, double pork chop.
Well, it was time to buckle up now. We could see Sam had picked the fresh salmon, and Joe planned to sear his famous steak. The kitchen was buzzing with energy as the two chefs put their heart and soul into their dishes. Chef Ramsay took both creations to the table outside for the staff to taste, and in true Chef Ramsay fashion, gave them his brutally honest feedback.
If I was just looking at the menu and hadn't tasted them, I'd probably go with the salmon.
Turns out Joe got most of the votes, but Sam's dish was a close second. I mean, who cares? Chef Ramsay approved of both the dishes, and guess what, folks? Both dishes were going to be served as dinner service specials.
My choice. Out of both those dishes, both good enough to go on this menu tonight.
Moving forward, everyone was pumped for their next dinner service. But wait, Chef Ramsay had some different plans, too. He pulled aside Kathy and Sam separately to tell them to write letters to each other, yes, including Joe, about how they felt about everything.
And what I want you to do is I want you to write a letter.
Well, more on that later. But for now, let's jump back onto the dinner service everyone's excited to witness. So, we're kickstarting dinner service and everyone's been given instructions on what duty they're on, everyone's shook on it.
Want to say to them both.
Until it all goes haywire, like we say, old habits die hard. Joe found it hard to just sit back and expedite. While Sam did all the cooking, Joe eventually found an excuse to find faults in Sam's ways and started working on Sam's dishes.
He's at the stove cooking Sam's dishes.
Sometime later when Chef Ramsay asked Joe if he was sticking to expediting, this was the lame excuse he gave. I mean, just take a look, this is crazy.
Are you expediting?
No, not really.
I mean, come on Joe, you say you want to sit back, you say your sugar is low, and you can't see yet the pan's still in your hand. Just let go.
Sugar is low, I'm fucked up. I can see, man. I got to pick up fucking things back.
I guess nobody could say it better than Brian.
Chef Ramsay wanted Joe to expedite, but that's Italian in him.
Finally, Joe put down his knife and moved out of the kitchen. Huh, what a relief. It was high time, right? Seeing Joe step down was the perfect opportunity for Chef Ramsay to pull him aside and have a little chat. Well, Chef Ramsay asked Joe to do the same thing. He asked Sam and Kathy to write a heartfelt letter to Sam about how he felt from the bottom of his heart.
I want you to go home and just write a short letter.
Next up, the entire Giuseppe's team wrapped up dinner service and everyone was fairly happy with how things turned out. But of course, there was still a lot to uncover.
Relaunch.
Tonight wasn't good enough for this restaurant.
After all the trials and tribulations came the epic moment.
Better. We're gonna relaunch.
Yeah, we're now finally at the best part of every episode of Kitchen Nightmares. It's relaunch night, baby. Like always, Chef Ramsay's team switched up the entire restaurant overnight.
Chef Ramsay's team went into high gear, working through the night.
Chef Ramsay and his team worked their magic, giving Giuseppe's Trattoria a much-needed facelift. The next morning, the entire team and staff assembled to take in the spectacle that was the new Giuseppe's. But the question is, are you ready to witness the revamp?
Excellent. Hey, what a difference. They look great. Beautiful.
Gone were the dusty grapevines and tacky decor. In their place, there was a sleek, modern interior that still retained a cozy Italian vibe. The new design was bright, inviting, and looked like a breath of fresh air.
Isn't it beautiful?
It was just the right touches of everything minimalistic, yet Italian. Chef Ramsay's team even added some personal touches to the decor with some of the family's old pictures. Heck, they even managed to get Sam's baby picture from the archives. Oh, such a sweet gesture.
Oh my God, he's holding Sammy.
Joe got visibly emotional, seeing his beloved restaurant transform into something truly beautiful.
You know, when I saw a tear come to his eyes, I almost lost it.
The team was grateful and excited, and they couldn't wait to show off the new Giuseppe's to their customers. But hold your horses, there's definitely more to the story. Now that the restaurant had received a brand new facelift, Chef Ramsay suggested marketing the restaurant in their locality for better advertisement.
This restaurant, we're gonna host the first ever.
Everyone seemed to be on board, so Giuseppe's team headed to their first ever marketing gig, a bowl-a-thon.
Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for being part of our first ever.
Looked like this marketing spree was indeed an excellent idea, because the turnout at this event sure did justice advertising the new Giuseppe's Trattoria. Joe, Kathy, and Sam were elated to see this 360-degree change brought to their life.
We're going to fight it. And with the help of you people, we're going to do it.
After such an outstanding turnout at the bowl-a-thon, Chef Ramsay now assembled the whole staff and team of Giuseppe's for a brand new relaunch night.
Hi guys.
So far, we had only seen the interior revamp, but it's not just the interiors that got an overhaul. The menu was revamped as well, featuring a mix of classic Italian dishes and modern, innovative creations. There was a renewed focus on fresh ingredients and authentic flavors, and the new menu items looked absolutely mouth-watering.
The restaurant. Okay, the chicken parmesan, look at that.
The whole revamp was so good, it kicked the youngster in Joe out a little too hard. But hey, calm down, Joe, we still have to get through the night.
Right now, I'm so excited.
Anyway, the doors of Giuseppe's were now open for dinner service, and the pool of customers started pouring in, and so did the number of orders.
Out of the fire.
Do you think the team at Giuseppe's did any better than last time? Well, stay tuned to find out what went down. The relaunch night was the true test of all the hard work. The restaurant was fully booked, and there was a buzz of excitement in the air.
Are you ready to order?
Fettuccine carbonara.
Chef Ramsay was there to oversee everything, and he wasn't taking any chances. He had his eye on every detail, from the kitchen to the dining room. The kitchen ran like a well-oiled machine with Joe and Sam working together harmoniously. The new menu items were flying out of the kitchen, and the customers were loving it.
I got 3 Marcellas coming right now. I need them, baby.
Sure, just like every other struggling restaurant has its problems, Giuseppe's did too. And the actual problem here was Joe and his stubborn attitude of not letting go of the reins.
And stubborn Joe is on the line cooking again.
Relaunch night definitely started on an amazing note, but soon into it, Joe can be seen working the grill again even though Sam asked him to move out of the way.
Get off the line. Go.
And obviously, not following the chain of command and duty is gonna have consequences. And it did. 2 plates of dishes got sent back in because the food was undercooked.
Not now, buddy. I've got pink chicken.
First pink chicken and then cold ricotta. Holy moly, this night is headed for a disaster. On the other hand, Joe is still not ready to butt out of the whole situation and is trying his level best to control everyone and everything.
Dad, do you want to get off the line?
This thing is awful, Sam.
It got to a point where Chef Ramsay had to call for a timeout and ask Joe to leave the kitchen area altogether.
Joe, 2 seconds.
And you'd think the old man would take a break, but no, Joe's diabetes sure didn't get the best in him. Turns out, it didn't get the worst in him either. After being sent on a break, the old man came back waddling in to check on the status of the kitchen. Chef Ramsay quite literally have to shoo him away this time. But I gotta hand it to Joe. Regardless of his stubbornness, he did manage to run a tight ship around here because the second Joe stepped out of the kitchen, Sam and Brian started falling short on sending out food on time. And of course, the diners started getting agitated.
You are. Thank you. You're welcome.
That table was here half an hour after us.
Finally, when Sam and Brian managed to send out food to their customers, well, it was undercooked. Again! And this time, Chef Ramsay had had enough. He went back into the kitchen and gave Sam and Brian an earful of how to do their jobs well. Here, take a look.
Food's coming back raw. All I want to do is cut the fucking around.
But I guess Brian, it was just not Brian's day, because boy did he choose the wrong time to mess with Chef Ramsay. After being called out for doing a shoddy job, Brian turned out and pointed to Chef Ramsay for making him make mistakes. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Hold up.
That fucking shit.
It's stone cold and raw.
Are you seriously going to turn around and put the nail on the person who has literally saved you sinking ship?
You know who I blame? I blame all this on you.
Guess what? After all the drama that went down, Brian chose to jump ship and just leave. He got in his car and drove off without informing anyone.
Fucking cement mixer.
Good riddance, I'd say. Just as Brian stepped out of the game, you can see the father-son duo come together as one and hold their sinking ship up.
Come on, I'm not giving up. I'm not fucking giving up.
Of course, there are a few hiccups. At one point, a dish comes back undercooked, and Chef Ramsay is quick to jump in and fix the issue. But overall, the night is a resounding success. The customers leave happy and satisfied, and the restaurant is buzzing with positive energy. At last, Joe and Sam's relationship seem to be on the mend as well. They share a heartfelt moment in the kitchen, acknowledging how far they've come and how much they had learned from each other.
Yeah, you did an excellent job today, Sam.
It's a beautiful sight, and it's clear that the future of Giuseppe's Trattoria is bright. Now that all was wrapped up, there was only one order of business left. Remember, Chef Ramsay had asked each family member to write a letter to the others, pouring out their true feelings.
And before I go, I want you to read the letter.
This is where the episode took a heartwarming turn. Joe, Sam, and even Kathy, who helps run the restaurant, sit down and read their letters aloud. Joe's letter was filled with regret and love, apologizing for being so hard on Sam and acknowledging his son's talent and passion.
Finally, I am really proud to have a son like you.
Sam's letter was equally emotional, expressing his admiration for his father and his hope for them to work together harmoniously. There was not a dry eye in the room, and even Chef Ramsay looked visibly moved.
Immaturity. I really am sorry if I disappointed you.
Although they managed to rebuild their relationship, Giuseppe's sadly closed in July 2009. The owners blamed the economy and the lack of a liquor license for the closure. Damn, that was one roller coaster of emotions packed into one episode. After 8 seasons of Kitchen Nightmares, just when you thought you've seen it all, Ramsay dropped a bomb. Turns out, the show has more to hide than to reveal. Now, you've seen Chef Ramsay yell, scream, berate, and totally lose it while handling some of the most stubborn owners and chefs we've ever seen. The show portrayed Chef Ramsay as a man who was in absolute control of the situation. But in truth, Chef Ramsay began to fear for his life. Yeah, now who expected that? Well, honestly, I don't blame him. The multi-Michelin star chef only agreed to do the show to guide people who were misled in what could be called a highly competitive industry. What had Chef Ramsay not done for the dying restaurants? He almost never turned away despite coming across the worst of the worst kitchens that were literally rotting. Instead, he made sure to get to the root of the problem and fix it. Like this one right here.
Oh my god. No, come on.
Not even the owners or chef could stand the stench of the place, but Chef Ramsay pushed through it like a champ. That's only because he took on this challenging job with nothing but good intentions. But it was sad to see all of his efforts backfire. From ungrateful owners suing him under false pretenses to lazy chefs feeding him highly contaminated and hazardous food, Chef Ramsay was finally done. He was tired of being away from his restaurant and being forced to eat crap food by Michelin star chef wannabes. The last restaurant to be featured on the show was Bella Luna in Easton, Pennsylvania. The production team then had Chef Ramsay revisit the place once again before calling it off for good. But it's not fair to accuse the owner of this Italian restaurant, Rosario Scolo, for putting an end to the show. Because, well, the culprit was someone else. Recounting an incident from a horrible restaurant he visited, Chef Ramsay spoke about a chef who did this.
He served me food where the cat has literally pissed on him.
God, that's no joke. So, do you think the father-son duo had a chance at reviving the restaurant? Or was it doomed from the start? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on my post notifications. And if you thought this video was crazy, then make sure to check out the next video right here. It's even crazier.